Our guest is the heavyweight champion and one of my childhood heroes, George Foreman. Thanks for being with us, Mr. Foreman.
I'm looking forward to it.
Is it Mr. Foreman or Pastor Foreman these days?
Just don't call me too late for dinner. Or call me in time for dinner.
Or is it the father of 5 Georges? You know, we have one son who we named Michael, and we're going to have another son. And I said, wouldn't it be cool to name him Michael? And my wife said, hey, I'm not necessarily against that. I said, hey, George Foreman has 5 Georges. If it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me.
Well, you haven't had to get hit on the head by Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, Ken Norton, so you'll have an easy time remembering names.
You know what? I went back this morning and watched your first fight with Frazier. The hitting on the head was you hitting Joe Frazier. It wasn't him hitting you. You know, with Joe Frazier passing, I know a lot of people are reaching out to you. I went back and watched that fight. It wasn't a very long fight, but I'm curious with all these years later what you remember of it, because I'll tell you, as we talked about this morning, I was 3 years old when that fight took place, but I've heard so much about it. You know, the Sunshine Showdown, a Rumble in the Jungle, all these fights that you had, but to go back and watch it, you didn't dance around, you didn't move, you just seemed cool. And in fact, Cosell talks about repeatedly the fact that you're so calm. Take me back to that fight.
Well, you got to understand that you got to take you back to Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier was not the bigger of any of us. He was the smallest in stature for his weight. But for some reason, everyone was afraid of Joe Frazier. Not everybody wanted to fight him. Even Muhammad Ali had lost because Frazier would not stop coming. So I kept thinking I wanted to be champ of the world, but I was hoping Frazier would retire and I'll fight someone else. So when the bell rang, I was like, what am I doing here in the first place?
You know,
what am I doing in the ring with smoking Joe Frazier?
Our mutual friend Michael Harris was playing an audio clip of yours. I'm not sure from when it was, and you were talking about it was from a few years ago, obviously, but you were talking about the fact that you would hit Frazier and he would go down. I think he went down six times.
Six times.
But
total.
3 times in the first round, wasn't it?
Yes.
And you talked about with Michael Harris, he just kept coming back.
And you know, I was thinking, I said, oh, he's going to be mad now. Then I knocked him down again. I said, oh, why did I do that?
So you were worried that you knocked him down.
I'm serious because Frazier, he'd gone down before in boxing matches, but the thing was he'd get up and come and get you. And the first time I'd seen him really go at it with Buster Mathis, he was so much smaller. And everyone left out of the arena afraid of small guys because Frazier was so vicious.
You know, you talked about, I heard an audio clip of an interview you gave about, it kind of reminded me of Donnie McClurkin's song, We Fall Down, But We Get Up. You were talking about Buster Mathis having beaten Frazier early, and yet Mathis's hand was injured, and so Frazier beats him in 1964, goes to the Olympics, and as we know, the rest is history because that sort of launched Joe Frazier. Could you tell that again?
Yeah, Joe Frazier really was not the choice. Buster Mathis had beaten him in the Olympic trials, but he had broken his hand. He should have hit it. Frazier was the alternate and going on to become an Olympic gold medalist. So Buster Mathis had this confidence that I beat him once, I even beat him twice. It was an easy fight for him, he thought. Well, probably. And so he got the shock, and everybody in the audience did as well when Joe Frazier knocked him out.
When you heard the news, George Foreman is our guest, when you heard the news that Frazier had passed, what went through your mind? What was the first thought?
Last night I was just, for some reason I got upset. If you think about it, I didn't have enough time to say everything I wanted to say to him. There was little things like, I love you, how are you doing this day, those kind of things. I got upset because I intended to say so much more to him. And then grief stepped in, and today I decided to make as much as I can about, let everybody know those small things about Joe Frazier they had never known.
And what's one of those things?
That this man was kind. He never, and all the years I knowed him and scouted him, he never treated anyone better than another. If you were rich, Joe Frazier would give you a boogie boogie. And if you were poor, he'd give you the same old handshake, boogie boogie. He's the most consistent human being I'd ever met.
You know, I don't know if you've seen the documentary, but ESPN did a documentary on Frazier Ali, and it gave a very different perspective. It painted Frazier as this decent, honest man of integrity, and it sort of suggested that Ali took advantage of him and wasn't respectful to him, and it really made Frazier look like I don't know, just such a solid stand-up guy.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't want to paint a picture that Muhammad took advantage of him because no matter what, Joe Frazier enjoyed being Joe Frazier. He was so comfortable in his own skin that the only problem he had with Muhammad Ali is that he loved him. And the only problem Muhammad had with Joe is that he loved Joe Frazier as well. It was a love affair, and it was like a family of boys that just kept teasing one another. Muhammad would tease him, and he'd want to fight. And that really motivated Muhammad to continue to tease him because they loved each other, just like any other family.
When you beat Frazier, you really shocked the world. What did he say to you?
Joe Frazier, he was strange because I told him from time to time that I knew I would probably, this was my opportunity to get him because he had put so much effort into beating Muhammad Ali. He put everything he had. He wanted that victory more than anything in the world. So when he fought me, there wasn't much motivation. If I had caught him earlier, no way I could have beaten Frazier in that fashion.
Compare Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali as fighters.
Well, it was one way and the other. Muhammad Ali was the master of get out of the way and punch you. Frazier was the master of here I come and I'm going to punch you. No one did it better in each case than these two guys. Wonderful. You couldn't have had Muhammad Ali without Joe Frazier. And Joe Frazier never could have achieved what he did as far as respectability without Muhammad Ali.
George Foreman is our guest. When you when you made your comeback, and I was at an age then that I could watch that not in the old time reels, but I could actually watch that in real time, and it was very inspiring to a lot of people to see you do that. What did Frazier say to you?
It's strange. I'm fighting Evander Holyfield in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And pre-fight introduction, there he is. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Frazier. He walks up, shakes my hand, and Evander's and walk out. Ladies and gentlemen, Muhammad Ali. And he walks out. I'm thinking maybe I should walk out myself now. That's when you realize you are into another era, something that you shouldn't have been in. I've gotten myself into a real fight. But Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali, especially Joe Frazier, he encouraged me. He said, man, you can punch. Nobody can take that away from you. Muhammad Ali, I told him I was coming back. He said, you could probably do it, but watch that Tyson.
Wow. Did you keep up with Frazier over the last few years?
Yeah, we were good friends. As a matter of fact, we became great friends. Whenever there was an event, Frazier would always be my guest and vice versa. All he had to do is give me a call, and I would show up for him. And his children and I, we were good friends.
Did he cook on a George Foreman grill?
Joe Frazier had a George Foreman grill. I made certain of that because I sent him many of them.
Well, I would hope so much as they paid you, you could send everybody in America one and still have made money.
You know what? He appeared with me on the Meineke commercial way back, too, as the Average Joe.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So we had a wonderful, loving relationship. I'm proud of that.
You lived through and were a part of, a reason for, absolutely the golden age of boxing. I'm sad that I was just a child when that was going on, but to go back this morning and look and see how many people have posted those YouTube videos and to get to go back and see it is just amazing time. Amazing time.
And it's something, it brings those things to life again. Thank goodness for YouTube and the video era. You can see us. You can not only talk about it, but everybody can see it.
So if people ask now, where is George Foreman? What are you up to these days? What do you say?
I lived a good life. I've got 10 kids, and I'm starting to accumulate grandkids now. My 6th grandchild should be any day now. So I find myself at home. I'm still doing business. I had some success with Madison Avenue, so I sit around the house and fish, ride horses, and still try to sell things.
Well, you made it a long way from the Bloody Fifth to the
That's right.
the annals of boxing and beyond. You're an amazing person, and I'm a big fan. Thanks for being with us, George.
Thank you back.